Are here live on a Sunday for the announcement of Kaden, Dixon, Wyatt. This has been an Ohio State-Oregon recruitment for a while now. Another head-to-head battle, Bucks versus Ducks. It doesn't take a Brian Hartline level talent evaluator to see what makes this kid a little different. He is a potential big play every time he's on the field. Crazy body control, a real knack for big-time catches, natural hands. He's strong, he's big, uses his body to box out, kind of like Quincy Porter.
The Ohio State.
Yeah!
It's obviously a no-brainer. Coach Hartline and all the guys really good. If you want to be an elite receiver, you go to Ohio State.
Kaden, Dixon, Wyatt, now the fourth wide receiver in the class for the Buckeyes. Brian Hartline continues to cement his legacy as one of the greatest recruiters we've ever seen in college football.
Boom, baby!
And welcome into Juck on Bucks on a Friday evening, right before dinner time. We got Carmine cooking dinner. I wasn't going to do a show today because I missed my slot this morning, but I figured I might as well come on because I've got some time here and I wanted to talk some football. My Nina yesterday, she hates me doing this. I text to talk when I'm driving, and I text to talk because it's a 4.5 hour round trip on my trip down to Columbus and back. And I can't just sit there idly. So I do that to try to get ahead of my work, right? And I even wrote a couple of articles that way. So I told her about this last month. She didn't like me screwing around with the phone. We got a strict no phone when you're driving policy, which I abide by, but I figure I can do the text to talk feature, right? If we can talk on the phone during the car, like what's the difference? But it bothered her, right? So yesterday she surprised me, kind of surprised her, but surprised me as this will be my treat when I have to go out of town. A self-driving car. How about that? I'm super pumped. I don't have to, I can do the text to talk. I can even text, right? I don't know. I'll have to read the rules with a self-driving car. I don't know how much you're supposed to trust it. I'm sure it takes some getting used to. But my buddy Chris goes down to Columbus every day from Akron, and this is when he does a lot of his work, he tells me. So now I'm going to join the club with the self-driving car. Pretty stoked about that. I get to keep my car, which I love, and then have this one to taxi me down. It's going to taxi me to and fro. How about that? But we got some things to get into today. Ross Bjork had another interview, and I want to hit on a few things that he said, as well as kind of the status. We haven't talked about it in a while of the House settlement and where the Buckeyes stand, where the competition stands, what's been published recently. So we will hit on that. Another offer went out to another offensive lineman. Talk to him. We'll hit on that, as well as obviously our time slots. We like to go over the time slots for every Saturday. What are our rooting interests here at Juck on Bucks in those time slots? And when are we going to go? We're going to go at 3:30. The Buckeyes aren't playing, but 3:30 has a couple of games of interest, and we are going to be live here at Juck on Bucks to hang out and watch those games on Saturday at 3:30. So we'll talk about those games in a few, but first I want to talk about the facts, what I think, what I know, my opinions only, of course, but I feel pretty convicted about a couple of things about this team and about some of these players, and I want to go through that. Now, I've devoured the All-22 from Ohio and Texas multiple times, keying in on various different things. The Grambling game, it was fun to watch the young guys, but that's really all I can count it for is the young guys. So let's begin. And the first thing that I think is Ethan Onyanwa at some point this season is going to take Tegra's starting job. At right guard, look, Tegra's a great young guy. I really like him. I think he's a quality human, and he's from Ohio, which I love. And if you didn't have Ethan Onyanwa on the roster getting better every week, which he has at right guard, I don't think this would really be a conversation, meaning I don't think people would be talking about, God, Tegra's not good. Tegra's not this. Tegra's not that. So the fact that you got Ethan, who is playing better, and in addition to that, you got an offensive line that's playing really good, it makes Tegra stand out a little more. Like, I think there's a lot of offensive lines had Tegra played on in the past that he wouldn't stand out as the biggest problem or the glaring weakness. I don't want to call him weakness, but you're always going to have somebody who's finishing lower, right? 5 guys in a group. You're always going to have somebody who finishes last. And currently right now, that's Tegra. Tegra's making some mistakes here and there, and it happens every week. And he also makes some great plays. I don't want to act like he hasn't. He's played much better than the usual lowest man on the offensive line totem pole. We'll put it like that. But when you look at Ethan, who is continuing to improve at right guard, and he's newer to the position, when he comes in, the offensive line looks better. And I suspect that it's not going to happen right away, but I think after a couple of Big Ten games, when they do this rotation, they're going to want to see Ethan against some Big Ten competition. So we'll see him probably in his rotation against Washington. 15 or so snaps is what he's been getting to Tegra's 40, 45. So we're going to see him against Washington, maybe a few more. And then as we move forward, a couple more games in, I think we're going to see that swing to Ethan until eventually he is the starter and Tegra's coming in getting those 15-ish reps. Now, Ethan, this is final year. Will be nice to get something out of him more than just a backup role in case you need him. To have him be the starting right guard would be great. Tegra can be back next year. So Ryan Day was asked about this, and the way he answered the question, it seemed like it was on the tip of the conversation. Like it seems like it's something that's being talked about. Not Ethan starting so much, but how's Tegra doing? And maybe we're thinking about this. That's what I read out of it. Again, that's my speculation, which I do a lot. But I could be totally wrong, but that's what it sounded like to me. What else do I think? There's been a lot of talk about this defensive line, and I've got some thoughts on some of these guys, and I want to start with Kenyatta Jackson. Kenyatta Jackson, a lot of people thought coming into this year would be dominant, and Caden Curry and Bo Atkinson opposite him would be a pretty good pair. The only worry was the backups on the interior. You got K-Mac and you got Eddie, who most people thought would be really solid to great. And after that, what do you got? Of course, this was all before we saw the defense kind of get turned on its head, as we had no idea we would be seeing so many different alignments that would bring guys like Bo Atkinson and Kenyatta playing tackle and Caden Curry playing nose, which means you have to rely on those reserves inside much less. And the more and more we see that, the less snaps we see for the guys on the interior. So that would mean you wouldn't have to worry about those guys as much. But when we talk about each one of these guys, we'll start with Kaden, who has been amazing. Caden Curry, just tremendous. K-Mac has also been amazing. The two Cadens have just been great. And when we move forward to Kenyatta is getting the job done. And I think that it's better than some people think. I've heard him getting bashed here recently. He only has like 3 tackles on the year, right? And I saw somebody say Kenyatta has less tackles than CJ Hicks. Well, CJ Hicks has 4, Kenyatta has 3. But the pass rush and him not getting off blocks is what a lot of people are talking about. We expected more sacks from him. There's a lot of plays where you can tell clearly on the film that Kenyatta Jackson is engaging his man, getting back to heels depth of the offensive line, holding his guy there, and he's waiting to read and react. So he's not on a pass rush. And we've talked about this forever with Jack and JT. There's a lot of plays where that's his assignment. He is not, screaming off the edge, going towards the quarterback. That's not what he's doing. That's not what he's being asked to do on a lot of these plays, not all of them, but on a lot of these plays. We've also had some offenses who are, getting the ball out of the hands quick. They're not allowing the Ohio State defense an opportunity to get much of a pass rush. And I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but I am saying there's not been a ton of opportunity for him to rack up sacks here so far. And that kind of shows with the rest of this team as well. I think Kenyatta, all in all, has played pretty doggone good. Kenyatta, how often is he beating his man in true pass rush settings? According to PFF, 33% of the time. That's good for second on the team. So beating his man in true pass rush sets, he's tops. 33% of the time he's winning. Well, not tops, second on the team. And following Kenyatta, number 3, Jarquez Carter, number 4, K-Mac, number 5, Caden Curry. So 6 is Arvell, tied at 8, Hicks and Bo Atkinson. So those guys doing well, beating their man in that order. When it comes to when the opposing quarterback is passing the ball. Now, Caden Curry has been amazing. Caden McDonald has been amazing. I think Bo Atkinson has been pretty good. I thought that he would make roughly this kind of impact so far. I thought he was a better athlete, but he gets it done somehow. He really gets it done. I think Tywone Malone has not been good so far this year until Ohio. Ohio, he played really good, and I think he's going to continue to split snaps with Edric Houston, because while Edric Houston was not somebody that any of us were worried about coming into the season, being a potential disappointment, it's not been good. It's not been good. Edric has been a disappointment, and I thought that maybe a message was being sent to him regarding the penalties at Grambling. He has 2 penalties at Grambling. You come into the Ohio game, and he doesn't start. Ty Malone starts. Well, thankfully, Ty Malone plays really well, but Edric in the game played the same snaps as Ty Malone. They both played 18 snaps, and Edric was overmatched by Mac linemen for much of the game. He could not hold his gap well. He could not get off blocks. And I'll show you in a couple of still shots, just kind of like what most of the game looked like, because I can't play the film on the show. Lining up here on the right of your screen, you can see number 55 right there. He's going to down block on Edric, and you see where the hash mark is. You see where the running back is, number 6. They're going to run the ball right where Edric is, and they're going to move him out of the way. That's their goal. Is Edric going to let him? In the next frame, you see number 6 is about to get the ball, and you see 55 has engaged with Edric. So he's down blocking Edric. Can he move him out of the way, or will Edric hold his spot? In frame number 3, we see the running back number 6 is now in the space where Edric used to occupy. He no longer does, because 55 made sure of that. Here's another example here. The same exact alignment, except this time Edric all the way on the right of your screen. Going to get blocked by the guard, number 60. And in the second frame, you can see he engages it. Number 6, the running back has the ball, and he's decided, where am I going to go to get away from this big guy? I'll cut outside of him. And in frame number 3, you see Edric diving to get a hand on him, and he does get a hand on him, but he cannot get off of his block. He can't get off his block. Here's that awesome play that Caden Curry made where he bull rushed his guy into the quarterback. Amazing play. At the same time, we look opposite him, and Edric 5 yards behind him. He's disengaged his block, giving up ground to try to get off of him because he can't get by him, and he certainly isn't pushing him backwards. He's getting knocked back. Sometimes it's just flat out embarrassing. The play started down at the bottom of the screen, and you see Edric still getting blocked by his guy down at the bottom of the screen while the entire play has migrated over to the other side of the screen. He's still dealing with this dude over there. It's not been good, and I'm stunned. I really am, because I was so high on Edric. I thought that, K-Mac, I'm a total believer, but Edric, he's the one that has this first-round draft potential, and I'm not saying I don't still think that. We talked about it, Dylan and I, the other day, about Edric. He's not been good so far, but have we lost faith? And at the time, I said, no, I've definitely not lost faith. This is a guy I totally believe in, and I think that he does have that first-round talent. And what am I basing that off of? Well, not much, right? We came into this with a lot of faith here. He just moved to the position last year. So at this point, he's got to get a lot better. He can't consistently get blown out of his gap, and not even with a double team. This just can't happen. So I don't know what's going to happen here as far as Edric goes, but I do expect Ty Malone to continue to get those snaps and maybe even continue to start. Now, the good news is not everybody has disappointed. There's been some people that have way exceeded expectations. And while I thought Edric was going to be a beast at Ohio State this year, I know some people on the Buckeye Huddle board said some surprises today, and you can join us over on the Buckeye Huddle board at buckeyehuddle.com. But they were talking about surprises, and one of the surprises somebody said was Jalen McClain. Somebody said Arvell. Neither of those are surprises for me. Those are guys I was really high on coming into the season, but I was surprised about this one. Over the offseason, some people were talking about Will Smith Jr. And they were saying that Will Smith Jr. was going to be that next guy that kind of steps up on the defensive line. And to me, it sounded like, well, you've got Caden McDonald, and after Caden McDonald at nose, you've got Will Smith Jr., then Eric Mensah, then Max Roy. So Will Smith Jr., really your only option there as of now. And it's going to be Will Smith Jr. And it seemed like we were just getting kind of fed that line of information. And sometimes that happens. We remember last year with Jason Moore. Will Smith had just gotten to 285, and they had just moved him over to 3-tech in the spring. I'm sorry, from 3-tech to 1-tech in the spring. And the reason he wasn't getting it done at 3-tech. So my thought was, all right, he's not getting it done at 3-tech, but he's a smaller guy. He should be getting it done at 3-tech. How is he going to be suited to play 1-tech? He was also, and he was injured, so this doesn't mean everything, but one of the last guys in the class to lose his black stripe. And it didn't make sense to me because his high school film shows a kid who was born to play 3-tech. But at this point, I had starting to kind of give up on the thought that he was ever going to be, a really, I don't want to say dominant, but a very effective player at Ohio State. It just kind of, I had kind of faded on him. Well, Will Smith Jr. is leading this football team. The stat I gave you, the win rate in pass rush situations, that Kenyatta is 33%. Will is leading the team in that stat. Leading the team. He's second in overall PFF rate, but these are just numbers that I can give you. When you look at him play after play after play, he's dominating his man. And that's what it's about. Snap after snap after snap, Will Smith Jr. is beating the hell out of the guy across from him. When he's double teamed, he's not getting blown out of the hole like I thought he would at his lower weight. He's up to 290 now. But, K-Mac is 325 or 335, depending on the day. Will Smith Jr. is without a doubt the second best interior defensive lineman on this team after K-Mac. Caden Curry playing like the second best interior guy, though he's not an interior guy. He's kind of moving all around, but we still classify him on the end. When we just talk about these interior guys, it goes K-Mac, Will Smith Jr. as far as who is playing the best right now. And I'm thrilled about this. Very happily wrong about Will Smith Jr. was your boy here. No doubt about it. And moving along, I think Logan George, not going to be somebody we're going to see a ton of this year. The transfer from Idaho State, who supposedly was ready to come in and make this jump up to Ohio State, is the clear fifth right now after Kenyatta Jackson, CJ Hicks, Caden Curry, Bo Atkinson. But I actually think that Zion Grady is ready to pass him if he hasn't already, which would put Logan George at about sixth. Now, we didn't hardly see him at all against Ohio. We didn't see him in all the first two games, but he wasn't on the injury report. I just don't think he's cutting the mustard or just getting passed up by some guys here. But I think Zion Grady, who's played very well in the limited time he's played, has passed him over as number 5 on that depth chart. I know that Santino Styles has played great. I know that Arvell REESE has played great, and Payton Pierce is playing great. And he had 20 snaps against Ohio that were really, really high quality snaps. I also think that Arvell and Sonny are the best 2 starting linebacker combo in the country. And I think that those 3 are the best 3 linebackers in the country together. And we can also just go ahead and throw in Riley Pettijohn as the number 4 and say that's the 4 best linebackers in the country together. James Laurinaitis, I know, is absolutely that dude. What he's done to this linebacker room gets more impressive as every week goes by. He's just tremendous. I think that Matt Guerrieri deserves a little more attention and a little more praise for the rise of Jalen McClain, who looks like Caleb Downs light next year, right? Like he's going to come in and take on that Caleb Downs role, and he's going to be able never to do what Caleb can do at that level, but he's going to be able to give the defense the versatility back there that Caleb has been able to give them. And that's what we've heard about all along. They can do so many more things with Caleb because of what Caleb can do. because of his versatility, because of his intelligence. And I think that Jalen McClain is going to keep the door open to do a lot of that versatile stuff. And the guy's just tremendous. He's going to be a total NFL dude. When we talk about Malik Hartford, there was the argument about Malik Hartford or Jalen McClain in the offseason. I was a McClain guy. He was the horse I was riding because Malik has just never, he doesn't inspire the confidence in me that Jalen does. And I was talking to Dylan about this in the spring, and I said to Dylan, literally word for word, I think Malik is going to be one of these guys that makes the big play that we all get excited about, and he also makes the incredibly frustrating dumb play, the boneheaded play too. And we had that conversation in the spring after we saw him try to come up and lay Bo Jackson out and bounce off of him and not wrap. And nothing makes me more furious than that. He also got juked pretty hard by Mylan Graham, but Mylan was running full speed kind of at him. And I don't think many people make that play in that circumstance. So I wasn't razzing on him for that one. But he gets in the game against Ohio. And shortly after he gets in the game, this play happens. And there was a tight end coming down the seam, catches the ball. And there's Malik at the back end there, ready to light him up. First, you got Devin Sanchez. That's the guy right by him. You see his arms are down, and he doesn't wrap, and he bounces right off of him. And then you see Malik come and not wrap and bounce right off of him. Both of those guys wanted to have a look good hit instead of an effective one, and they both bounced off of him. But those kind of plays, when you have been passed up by an underclassman, are what keep you on the bench. Those kind of plays right there, coming in and trying to make that impact, lay you out, monster hit, and letting your guy bounce off and keep running. And it's an immature football play, man. That's just what it is. It's an immature football play. Get your man on the ground. I will take Lorenzo Styles' play right there where he wasn't trying to make a hit or lights. He was trying to strip somebody, right? And it was a brain fart. He needed to get his guy on the ground. But those kind of plays where you try to do that, it's almost like a selfish play. I don't want to get the guy on the ground. I want to light him up and make a hit for myself. That's what it feels like. And nothing makes coaches more pissed off. And he probably got Devin off the hook there. Or maybe that was doubly bad that they both did that. I don't know. But Devin did it first, and then he did it. Same guy on one play. We got two guys coming in, trying to lay him out, and both bounce off of him because they won't wrap. Moving on, I know that Brandon Innis has been vindicated. He's been vindicated for anybody who was saying that he's not getting open because he doesn't have enough juice. He was clearly open in that game. The game plan dictated that the ball didn't go to him. I loved hearing Brian Hartline defend him, not because I'm some big fan of Brandon Innis, though I am a fan of Brandon Innis, but because I'm a fan of fairness, and I think that he was unfairly getting characterized as not having played a good game because he didn't get the targets. That's not what happened. If you think there's a better slot receiver on the team, well, I could just say, I think that Bryson Rodgers would be a better pass receiving slot receiver on the team. However, this slot right now in this offense seems like the guy that is blocking and getting these guys freed up. And I prefer Brandon in that role. I think he's better at that role. And that's what is being emphasized in that role. If those two get some more run, I think that would be great. As far as Mylan playing, we'll talk about it in a second. But first, I think that tight end Will Kazmarek, has gotten so much better since he's come to Ohio State. He last year was not so. I thought he played too much last year. I thought he played too much. I didn't think he was quite on the level that I expected him to be coming in based on his film. I thought he was going to be a total dude at Ohio, and he wasn't there last year. This year, he's there. He is a dude. He is impressive as hell. This guy blocks like he's a left tackle. He eats people up, and he's versatile enough to go out and make catches. He's huge. He's got a great attitude. Everybody loves him, and he's just a mean, nasty dude. So very, very pleased with Will Kazmarek. I think he's an excellent tight end. I think the use we saw of the tight ends against Ohio, which was extensive, like 42% of the time, multiple tight ends on the field, I don't think we're going to see as much of that. I think that's what we're doing today. That's not like what we're going to see moving forward. I know a lot of people very upset that they use so much of it, because using so much of it takes out one of your weapons, one of your wide receiver weapons. Those are the best guys on the team. But the tight ends can create a lot of mismatches in their own right. So I don't think ultimately that's what we're moving to, but it is nice to have that many tight ends that can play at that level that you can bring in and have that as an option. It's nice to make the defensive coaches plan against that as well. So I think it's really good that they did that and showed that they will do that. I think that Max Clare should be back for another year next year, just like Will Kazmarek, who we saw transfer to Ohio State year 1, play pretty good. Year 2, he looks great. I think we could see the same thing out of Max Clare, who hasn't shown us as of yet that he is the playmaker he was at Purdue. And I think we'll see that this year, but I sure think he should come back next year. Definitely think so, selfishly. I know that Nate Roberts is a total dog. Freshman tight end Nate Roberts out of Oklahoma, playing fullback, and he's doing a damn good job. At tight end, I watch him come across and destroy a defensive end, which I love to see out of a freshman. We haven't got to see him in the pass game, but he's really good in the pass game. I would not be surprised in the slightest if towards the end of the year, we see Nate Roberts pass up and play more than Bennett Christian and Jelani Thurman. He's that good. To me, top 3 tight ends, Will Kazmarek, Max Clare, and Nate Roberts. I think that we heard a lot of people say this week that Bo Jackson should get no more than 10 carries because that's what Travion Henderson got at the high end last year. I think that's flawed logic, because when Travion Henderson wasn't carrying the ball, Quinshon Judkins was carrying the ball. Well, those are, if you're taking the ball out of Bo's hands, you're not giving it to Quinshon Judkins or a like talent back. You are giving it to a back who's not going to be nearly as productive, which means the carries should skew more to Bo than they did to Trey. When you had 2 guys that they thought these guys are even talent. These guys are both going to get us the same, but slightly in a different way. And to me, Jackson is head and shoulders above the other 2. And I just think that when you're playing UCLA or Rutgers, don't put the mileage on it. But when you're in a competitive game, he needs more than the 10 carries. I think relying on the transfer portal is risky business. In hindsight's 2020, but I think Ohio State made a mistake in the transfer portal through no fault of their own. They did what they had to do. But Justice Haynes looks tremendous up at Michigan. Tremendous. And Ohio State was in on him. The price tag was too much, and they elected to spend that money elsewhere. For instance, big money tackle Ethan Onyanwa, and that hasn't panned out at all. He's your backup right guard right now that I think might end up being your starting right guard, but he didn't get starting right guard money. He got left tackle money, which is a very big difference. And the cheaper tackle, Phil Daniels, an absolute star. We'll get to Phil in a little bit. But Ethan wasn't worth the money that he got, and that money could have been money that went to Justice Haynes, for instance. And Ohio State knew what they had in James Peoples, which is a fine back, not a difference-making back. Instead, they were in a situation where they had to get 2 tackles because of not having them on the roster due to recruiting misses. And they tried to go the value route on the running back. And this makes perfect sense. I'm not faulting anybody here, but this is how it's playing out. Recruiting misses make you go into the portal and need things instead of going in the portal wanting an upgrade. And that's not, Ohio State doesn't like to go into the portal with needs. They like to go into the portal and get wants for upgrades, like Max Clare, for instance. That is that's a cherry on top. That's what they like to do in the portal. And when you need to go get those tackles, that filters down because now you've taken away money for your wants. And in this case, you wanted a Justice Haynes type back. Instead, you had to spend that on tackles. You might have wanted an elite pass rusher or an elite guy in the middle. Instead, you had to spend that on tackles. But you also needed a running back, and you went the less expensive route, and that was CJ Donaldson, who I now know at this point in the season is an average player. He's an average player at this level. Now, I thought he was just a guy coming in from West Virginia. We'd seen plenty of him to have a full body of work to judge him at West Virginia. He comes in, though, and he loses some weight, and he gets the attitude that we see every transfer get when they come to Ohio State. They transfer, they come to Ohio State, and it's like a career reinvigoration. And it's cool to see, and I don't know if that's the attitude everybody gets when they transfer anywhere, but we certainly see it at Ohio State, and it's awesome to see. And I started getting excited when we saw him in the spring game. He looked lighter on his feet, and it was like, okay, this looks like a little different kind of back than we're seeing on film at West Virginia. However, this is a guy who averaged 4 yards a carry during his career at West Virginia, and a leopard doesn't change his spots, even if he loses 13 pounds. He's had 33 attempts at Ohio State. He has forced 1 missed tackle. He runs directly into contact. He's a physical back who can't break tackles, and he made Adonis Williams Jr., number 5, the safety from Ohio, look like he belonged in the scarlet and gray instead of the green and white. 195-pound safety stonewalled the 227-pound back at the 2-yard line one-on-one. Put him on his back. Now, really nice pass blocker. This guy's not a great runner. He's not a great goal line runner. And I know that he should not be the goal line back. That should be Bo Jackson. We love his size, but if you can't use that size effectively, what's it matter? Now, I think a lot of Ohio State fans tried to wish into existence James Peoples being a great running back. He's not a great running back. James doesn't have the burst you would expect a guy with that build at this level would have. If you give him a big old lane to run through, he'll run through it, but not much after that. And I've seen some people comparing Bo Jackson and James Peoples and trying to make it sound like this is actually pretty even by extrapolating Bo's big runs out of his game and saying, well, now let's average it. Let's take away the big run and average it and see how the yards per carry stack up between the two of those. A couple things about this. Number one, when's the last time you looked at a running back at the end of the season and said, this guy averaged 5.3 yards a carry on the year. Let's go back and take out all his big runs and then see what he really averaged. You don't say that. You don't do that. That's ridiculous. People only do that when they want to make a point and cherry pick and make a point about one game or 2 games. Point number 2, if you're going to take out Bo's longest run and do his average, surely it's only fair that you take out James Peoples' longest run as well, which was a 17-yard run. And I could also say that 17-yard run that James Peoples had, if it was Bo Jackson, it might have been a 60-yard run. So the truth is, one of these backs is pretty much better at everything, and Bo Jackson is a home run hitter. That's part of his game. We've talked about it for the entirety since he's been around. All offseason, spring practice, spring game, both scrimmages. And this is honestly one of the reasons Ryan Day really wanted him, because he has this ability and he consistently does this. So you can't say, let's compare these guys, but take away one of the best parts of this guy's game first. By the way, Travion Henderson relied on that to have a huge per carry yardage or yards per carry average. And it just doesn't make any sense to me to hear this argument, but I've heard a lot today. Bo Jackson is head and shoulders the dude here. Now, here's what else I know. I know that Isaiah West is the second best back on this team. And I think that if Bo wasn't here, let's say, for instance, it was just Isaiah West and Turbo who came in, that Isaiah West would be the guy, the freshman, eating into the carries of Donaldson and Peoples. That's what I think. I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon, because I just think now you're talking about causing some real animosity. Yeah, we could say all we want. You play the best player. But there's other stuff that goes into it on a football team. And unfortunately for Isaiah, I don't think it's going to happen for him this year. But it might, because he is not faster than Peoples or Donaldson, but he has better vision and he runs through contact better. He would be more productive. I believe that very strongly. So I also think that Phillip Daniels is the Juck on Bucks first quarter of the season baddest dude on the team. The last dude you want to see going up against you, the first guy you call if you need some help. When I watch this guy play on the offensive line, on every play, this dude just brings violence. We heard it all over the preseason that he was fighting with his teammates. What did he say? I beat on dudes, and sometimes they take exception to that, right? And it starts a fight. He's a bully. He's a straight up bully, but he's our bully, and he's got the power to be a bully. He's awesome. He's got developing technique, and he's just a bad dude. He's a bad dude. He's an NFL tackle. Bucks really landed a stud when they brought him back home from Minnesota. I think Brian Hartline meant it at the press conference when he said, and I'm going to bring up my buddy Ron James, said Ron James from Dead Air Sports does the morning Buckeye roast with my buddy Q. And Ron said to me the other day, he is not buying it when Hartline says that he's going to potentially play some more guys, play some more depth here. I think he means it. And here's why. I think he meant it in the past, but it didn't happen. But here's why I think it might actually happen this time. I think it's going to happen. He talked about you got to do this during the week. You got to get ready for this during the week. And I think that Devin Jordan is going to be the one making those decisions down on the sideline after they talk about it during the week. And I think Devin Jordan, he's got to be better than Hartline at it, right? Like I think Hartline is, I don't want to say stressed, but he wants such perfection that it leads him to not put in the younger guys. He's just going with the guys that he's 100% believes in, will do it 100% right all of the time. And I just got a feeling that if he relinquishes some of that to Jordan while he's focusing on the offense, we are going to see that. I really think we are. Maybe it's just wishful thinking, but I know we've all talked for years. We want to see wide receiver depth. And I got to ask myself, why? Why do we want to see it so bad when we know we've got the best wide receivers? I think the only reason is we know there's so much talent. We want to see the talent, at least see what it can do. And that is what the argument should be to see Mylan Graham. Not Brandon Innis needs to come out because he sucks and we need to put in somebody who's better, which is the argument we heard all last week. I know that Brian Hartline is right on schedule to being a tremendous, excellent offensive coordinator. And I know that the defense under Matt Patricia, all right, I know that, do I know it or do I think it? That I don't know. We'll put it that way. It's better. It's a better defense. It's a better defense, and it's certainly much more fun. Finally, one last thing. I know that Julian Sayin is exactly who the hell I thought he was, and he's going to get nothing but better and better and better as the season goes on. And he's getting no respect. The top 25 quarterbacks from CBS just came out. And according to CBS, a list released yesterday, the article tells us Garrett Nussmeier, Drew Aller have been kicked out of the top 25. Here's their list. Number 1, John Mateer, Haynes King, Jake Ratzliff, who's at Tulane now, if you didn't know. That's the BYU fella. I'm not going to say it. Marcel Reed, number 4. Diego, number 5. Arkansas's Taylor Green. Luke Altmaier of Illinois, Josh Hoover of TCU, Tommy Castellanos of Florida State, Byron Brown of USF. Round out the top 10, then we got Devin Dampier, Jaden Mayava of USC, Gunnar Stockton of Georgia, Joey Aguilar, Jaron Sagapulatelli from Cal. That's the one that beat Devin Brown out. Jackson Arnold, CJ Bailey of NC State, Damon Williams of Washington. That's our dude. Carson Beck of Miami, who is, I don't know how he's this low. Sawyer Robertson, Bo Prabula, Byron Morton, Texas Tech. We're going to watch him soon. We'll talk about the games. Ty Simpson, Alabama. Dante Moore of Oregon is number 24. And my dude, Jalen Daniels from Kansas. Happy to see him on that list. Happy to see a lot of guys on this list. How in the hell do you go 25 deep and you don't list the guy who is, do we need to pull up the stats? We've already done it. It's insane to me. It's almost like you must have just forgot. You must have forgot and accidentally left him off the ballot. Has to be. Can't be any other way. All right, let's all please like the show here. I got some stats I want to read to you guys. Hang on, I got these on my notes here. All right, so I just passed a milestone. It's not really a milestone. I'm on my way to a milestone. I passed the 19,000 subscriber mark, going for 20,000 subscribers. When I started this show last year, I had no idea that I would be one of the lucky ones, and I consider myself extremely lucky. 90% of podcasts quit after 3 episodes. 10%, the 10% that's left, 75% of that 10% quit after 3 to 6 months. And of that remaining 25%, 10% of them give up at about the 20 episode mark. That's the stats on podcasters. So the fact that I'm still doing it makes me one of the lucky ones, because they quit out of frustration, lack of following, a crappy plan on how to do it or what to talk about. I'm so incredibly grateful because I love doing this, and your support, obviously, when you support a podcast, that you can see it from my end or anybody's end that's doing the podcast, and it just keeps you motivated because well, somebody likes it, so I'm going to keep going. And what I've gotten out of this show based on your support, like taking me from like little outsider covering the team, so now I can cover it from the inside over at BuckeyeHuddle.com. It's gotten me in the door over there, and I love it over there. Great people to work with, great people on the board, great people that are members. I'd encourage you to member it, to join it and be a member at BuckeyeHuddle.com. It's awesome. We got a great board where we talk about awesome topics all day, which a lot of times lead me to talk about things on this show. There's great people there. It's not like other boards I've been around on Ohio State, and I'm a member of pretty much all of them. Doesn't have a negative tone. There are no trolls who just come out and like to fight with everybody, which there's a couple of boards like that right now. And it's just great, real talk. It's not sunshine pumpy. It's not negative. It's just real talk. And I love it. So my point here is to ask you to subscribe. Subscribe, please. I'm trying to get to 20,000, and I don't know why. It's something I would really love to get to, but it just feels like a milestone. That thinking about this a long time ago when I was getting to like 1,200 subscribers, like thinking about 20,000 seemed like, are you kidding me? That'll never happen. But I'm almost there. We're almost there. We're on our way to 20,000. It is Friday, September 19th. Let's see how long it takes us to get to 20,000. These picks, I am sitting here like I am going against so much of the values that I have as a game. Like, all right, so let me just go over this real quick. Some of the picks I've got. Oregon is minus 27.5 going on the road to Northwestern, and I'm not going with the home dog in that game. Clemson goes down to Atlanta. I'm not going with the home dog, Georgia Tech, in that game. Purdue, another home dog to USC. I'm not going with them. West Virginia, another home dog. I'm not going with them. Tennessee, another home dog. I'm not going with them. LSU, a home favorite. I'm not going with them. Like, this is just not how I normally bet. But I got a really good feeling about this slate, to be quite honest. I really do. Famous last words, right? I got a really good feeling. So if you faded the Juck on Bucks picks, buddy, you made some money. You made some money last week, but hey, it happens. It happens. I'm now down 7 units on the season. Last year I finished plus 19. So it's not been good. It's not been a hot start. We're going to get him back today, but what I love more than gambling is watching college football and finding my own personal rooting interests in every game I watch. But the time slots tomorrow, and we'll go over them. We got a great day. We got a great day of football. We'll start with an absolute banger that is maybe the biggest game in the Big 12 since Ndamukong Suh in Texas in the Big 12 championship game. Remember that one? That was a hell of a game. Texas Tech is now number 17 in the country, I think, and they go and play Utah, who's like number 18 to 16, somewhere around there. Who cares about the numbers? Not about the numbers. They're both ranked teams. They're both really good. And that game is going to be at 11 o'clock their time, so a really early game, 12 o'clock our time. Quarterback Devin Dampier at Utah has been electric so far. Kyle Whittingham's got his boys playing tough. I think Utah is back. They're back. And Texas Tech, by the way, they just signed a top 100 overall kid yesterday. So they're continuing their recruiting terror. But this is the team that bought the best roster in the country last year. They bought in the transfer portal, the best roster. They beat everybody by a mile. I can't wait to see what it looks like. I've seen a little clip here and there of them against overmatched competition. How fast can this team gel? They brought all these pieces in for a ton of money. So you've got happy players that are making a lot of money. Will they be disciplined? Joey McGuire is a really good coach. I believe that. I'm really interested to see what these guys look like against top-notch competition. And Utah is that. They look like they're back. Could Texas Tech win the Big 12 and make it to the playoffs in year one after this massive investment? Utah's the favorite, 3.5-point favorite. I'm going to be rooting for Utah. My good buddy Kyle, Utah guy. I root for Utah for him. He roots for our Buckeyes for us. So I'll be rooting for Utah. I would anyway. I just like Whittingham and I like the way they do things. But they are a 3.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Texas Tech plus those 3.5 points for my bet. So the ideal scenario for me, Utah wins by 3. Let's book it. All right. Another game in that noon window that I'm somewhat interested in. Syracuse at Clemson. Syracuse getting 16.5 points. The last time Syracuse went and played at Clemson, I was at the game, and Syracuse took them to overtime. Clemson was much better. But Fran Brown and Syracuse, not Fran Brown, but Syracuse in particular, seems to always play these guys tough. So can they potentially do it again now that Clemson has lost 2 games in a row and is reeling? Dabo Swinney gone off the deep end. We'll be looking out for it. 16.5 points. I'm going to take those points in Syracuse. Then we've got Eddie George and Bowling Green heading into Louisville. 26.5-point underdogs. We'll keep an eye on Eddie. No bet here. We've also got SMU and TCU. This one's always fun. These two mega rich little private schools down in Dallas, and they hate each other. They hate each other a ton. SMU is getting 6.5 points. They've not been very impressive this year, but I believe in Rhett Lashley and the boys. I'm going to go with them on the money line, actually. I don't even want the points. SMU is going to beat TCU tomorrow. Now, we've got Maryland and Wisconsin, and this is the only game of the year from now on out. Maybe there'll be one more that Wisconsin will be favored. They're a 10.5-point favorite. I don't know anything about Maryland this year, but Wisconsin just got done getting whooped by Alabama. They are not going to cover that 10.5 points. I'm going blind on this and saying Maryland plus 10.5. I just think Wisconsin is absolutely reeling. And that finishes our noon slot. Now we roll into the 3:30 window, and we have got us live here streaming this as we got 2 absolute bangers, and some other little sprinkles here and there. For starters, we've got Tulane, who is the best G5 team, also with the best uniforms. They got such good uniforms. My buddy Chuck goes to Tulane. So I got this buddy, Chuck Riviere. And Chuck was a New Orleans cop, right? He got so sick of seeing the brutality being a New Orleans cop that he decided, I'm going back to school. I'm going to go and be a doctor. And he's at Tulane now. Got all this financial aid. He's got, young kids. And he's going to Tulane as a doctor. So he sent me a Tulane flag, which I have hanging over there. I've got a ton of flags of other colleges too, all over the studio. Well, I can't really call it the studio over there. That's the other part of the room where there's some couches and such and some brown stuff and an AJ Hawk Packers jersey, right over there. But some other stuff. My point is Tulane is going in to play Ole Miss and they're getting 12.5 points. I'm going to take Tulane in those 12.5 points. Then we got Bill Belichick in North Carolina getting 6.5 going into play Central Florida. No chance. UCF big. But the big games we're going to be focused on, obviously, in that 3:30 window, and the ones we will be meeting here for, well, there's 2 of them. Auburn, number 22, going to take on number 11, Oklahoma. This is a grudge match. Jackson Arnold, Auburn's quarterback, got kicked out of Oklahoma, discarded, treated like trash, and then they pretended that they didn't do it, which is the same thing they did to Dylan Gabriel, kicked him off to Oregon for Jackson Arnold. So they got what they deserve with that. Now they lucked out, got John Mateer, and he's awesome. He's also a guy that could stand in the way of Jeremiah Smith or Julian Sayin winning the Heisman Trophy, which means we need him to go down, and we have to root for Auburn. They're getting 6.5 points. I'm taking those 6.5 points, and it's War Eagle all day. Then we got the really big one. Nebraska getting 1.5 as they host Bryce Underwood and the Blue without Sharona Moore, Biff Poggi, the coach, and the game monumental proportions for Matt Rule, Dylan Raiola in Nebraska. It is Go Big Red all day. I will be in a Nebraska shirt that I know my neighbors got. I'm going to borrow it again. And I'm going to prove, or they're going to prove that they are ready for the moment. Matt Rule in year 3, and we were told by J.D. Pickle when Nebraska beat Cincinnati, barely, Cincinnati not a very good team, that this is Matt Rule in year 3. Now, I don't believe that they're great. I don't believe that Michigan's great, but I think Michigan is just a tougher team. I think they're a tougher team. It's going to take everything Dylan Gabriel's got, and he's been playing good, and he's going to need to run. He's going to need to do whatever he can. They got a better wide receiver this year that can help them out. I think they're going to eke it out in the end. They're going to eke it out in the end. We'll certainly be here to watch that game. Now, the evening window, another banger. We've got number 9, Illinois, number 19, Indiana. And this thing opened up, Illinois getting 4.5 points. Then it was 5.5. Now it's 6.5. Will it cross over the key? Will it get to 7 by game time? I got to tell you, even though the line has raised, in the summer, we talked about this game a ton. We talked about these two teams a ton. Who is going to be the team that is going to step up in that slot? Now, I had Illinois as my 4th power-rated team post-spring in the Big Ten after the Big 3. I had USC 5th. I think I had Indiana like 7th. I wasn't a believer. And I didn't like the fact that everybody was just, nonchalantly acting like, okay, Indiana's just going to be what they were again. Like they've been that way forever. No, they've sucked forever. You're not just good one year and then we're just going to expect it the very next year. However, they've played nobody to start the year, but last week against Indiana State, man, they look so good against the Sycamores, it might have changed my mind. Is that stupid? It sounds stupid, but I don't know. Illinois also didn't look too great against Duke, but they got it done. Now, I'm rooting for Illinois. I'm rooting hard for Illinois because I want we don't play Indiana. I want Ohio State to go in to Champaign, Illinois, with them still ranked very highly. I want that to be another top 10 win, boom, for Ryan Day. I don't think they present any problems for Ohio State. Who would you rather play? I'd rather play Illinois. I think Illinois is going to lose the game. I think they're going to go in, they're going to lose the game, and I think that Indiana is going to cover this spread as well. I think they'll win it by more than a touchdown. I hope I'm wrong because I want Illinois to pull it out. I want Indiana to lose that game. I want Indiana and Kurt Signetti to get knocked down a peg or two. They're very arrogant. Every time they've played a good team, they've lost. How good is Illinois? I'm just not as convinced as I thought I was over the summer that they're as good as I thought they were taking a step to the next level. And now I just don't think they are. I don't. Unfortunately, I hope I'm wrong about that, but give me Indiana minus the 6.5. We've also got Arizona State getting 2.5 at Baylor. Not that I'm extremely excited about it, but it's a tight line. I'm not going to play it, but I will be keeping an eye on it. Florida, the Gators getting 7.5 points at Miami. Can they bounce back after the LSU loss? 5 picks by DJ Lagway and knock Miami off a peg. Ironically, I think they can, because what do we know about Billy Napier's teams? They don't give a damn when he really needs them, when all eyes are on him and he's going to get fired. They only care after that, where there's no pressure. And then all of a sudden they got a lot of talent and they beat people. What if they beat Miami? I'm taking it. I'm taking Florida in the 7.5. And I think that Florida might just upset them. Knock Miami off a peg because people are saying Miami, the number 1 team. Get out of here. Get out of here. The Buckeyes, the clear number 1. How about the nightcap at 11:30? Michigan State at USC. USC, an 18.5 point favorite. I'm somewhat intrigued. Michigan State, we haven't seen them in forever be that fly in the ointment for people. I think that this year, this Michigan State team is that team. It's just a matter of who are they going to jump up and get. They're going to get somebody. Will it be USC? I don't think so, but I'll be watching. Game starts at 11:30. But join me here tomorrow or today if you're watching this on Saturday at 3:30. We're going live. Here we go. Let's see what you got. Bryce heading into Memorial Stadium. Tough environment. The best fans in the country at Nebraska. It's going to be great. So I'll see you guys then. I appreciate you. Please like the show. Please subscribe. Talk to you then. Juck 'em Bucks out.